The space station Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. It was huge, with metal walls that gleamed under the artificial lights. Ships from many different worlds docked at its ports. Today, the station held the most important meeting. In the galaxy. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the long corridors. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. He wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's Space Fleet. Behind him walked Lieutenant Amy Collins. She carried a briefcase full of papers and looked nervous. "First time dealing with aliens?" Jake asked her. "Yes, sir," Amy said. "I've read about them, but I've never met them face to face." Jake smiled. "Don't worry, they're not so different from us. They want the same things we do. Peace, safety for their families." They entered the main meeting room. It was enormous, with a round table in the center. Representatives from 3 alien races sat around it. The air smelled strange, like metal and something else Jake couldn't name. The Korthok sat on one side. They looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. Their skin was dark green and covered in scales. Their leader, Warchief Thrakis, was the biggest of them all. His yellow eyes looked at Jake with disgust. Across from them sat the Zilani. They were thin and tall, with blue skin and large black eyes. They wore white robes that seemed to glow. Their leader, Ambassador Lyra Voss, had a cold expression on her face. The third group was the Viridian. They looked the most like humans, but their skin was purple, and they had 4 arms. They wore expensive clothes covered in jewels. Their leader, Trademaster Korvac, smiled, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. "So," Thrakis said in a deep voice, "the humans have finally arrived. How nice of you to join us." Jake sat down at the table. Amy sat beside him. "We're here to help make peace," Jake said. Thrakis laughed. It was a harsh sound. "Peace? You primitive creatures think you can teach us about peace? We have been fighting wars since before your species learned to make fire. Everyone here has lost something in this conflict," Jake said calmly. "We need to find a way to stop the fighting." "The only way to stop fighting is to win," Thrakis said. "The strong survive, the weak die. This is the way of the universe." Ambassador Voss leaned forward. "The Korthok understand only violence. They attack our trade routes and destroy our ships. They cannot be reasoned with." "Your people steal our technology," Thrakis growled. "You think you are so smart with your computers and machines, but intelligence without strength is worthless." Trademaster Korvac spoke up. "Both of you are hurting. Business. Wars are expensive. Peace makes money." "Money," Thrakis spat. "The Viridians think everything can be bought and sold. Some things are worth more than profit." Jake watched the 3 aliens argue. He had hoped this meeting would be different, but they seemed to hate each other as much as ever. "Perhaps we could start with small agreements," Jake suggested. "Safe passage for medical ships. Protection for civilian vessels." "Civilians?" Thrakis laughed again. "There are no civilians in war. Everyone is either a warrior or a victim." Amy looked down at her papers. She was taking notes, but her hands shook a little. "Your assistant seems frightened," Voss said. "Do all human females fear so easily?" "I'm not frightened," Amy said quietly. "I'm just trying to understand why you want to keep fighting." "Because fighting is what makes us strong," Thrakis said. "Look at you humans. You cry when you're sad. You help the weak instead of letting them die. You feel sorry for your enemies. These are the traits of a species that will not survive." Jake felt his jaw tighten. "Caring for others is not weakness, isn't it?" Thrakis stood up. He was almost 8 feet tall. "Let me tell you something about your precious human colonies. My ships have been visiting some of them recently." Jake's blood went cold. "What do you mean?" "The planet you call Haven's Rest. Such a pretty name. It had farms and schools and little human children playing in the streets." Thrakis smiled, showing sharp teeth. "It was so easy to destroy. My warriors barely had to aim their weapons." "Amy," gasped. You attacked civilians. I told you, Thrakus said. There are no civilians in war. We killed them all. The farmers, the teachers, the children. They all burned together. Amy's face went white. She stood up quickly, her chair falling backward. Children, she whispered. Oh yes, Thrakus said. Little ones. They cried for their parents as they died. It was quite amusing. Amy started to cry. Tears ran down her face as she thought about the children who would never grow up. The alien representatives began to laugh. Thrakus laughed loudest of all. Look at this. The human female weeps. How pathetic. Such emotional weakness. Voss said with disgust. How did your species ever reach the stars? Creatures who weep have no place among the stars, Thrakus declared. You should go back to your little planet and leave the galaxy to the strong. Jake stood up slowly. His hands were shaking, but not with fear. Amy was still crying, and the aliens were still laughing at her pain. The negotiations are over, Jake said quietly. What? Korvac asked. I said, the negotiations are over. Jake's voice was calm, but there was something dangerous in it. Lieutenant Collins, gather your materials. We're leaving. You cannot just leave, Voss said. The Galactic Council requires the Galactic Council can go to hell, Jake said, and so can all of you. He turned to help Amy, who was still crying. It's okay, he whispered to her. We're going home. As they walked toward the door, Thrakus called out, Run away, little humans. Run back to your safe little world. But remember, there are more colonies out there. More children to burn, and you are too weak to stop us. Jake stopped walking. He turned around slowly. For a moment, his mask of control slipped, and the aliens saw something that made them stop laughing. You're right about one thing, Jake said. We do cry. We feel pain when innocents die. But you made a mistake thinking that makes us weak. What mistake? Thrakus asked. You made us cry, Jake said. And now you're going to learn what happens when you hurt someone a human cares about. Jake and Amy left the room. The aliens sat in silence for a moment. Should we be worried? Korvac asked. About the humans, Thrakus laughed. They're too soft to be a real threat. But Ambassador Voss wasn't so sure. She had seen something in Jake's eyes that reminded her of a predator. Something that suggested the humans might be more dangerous than they appeared. Outside the meeting room, Jake helped Amy to a quiet corner. She was still crying, but now she was also angry. How could they do that? She asked. How could they kill children and laugh about it? Because they don't understand what those children meant to us, Jake said. But they're going to learn. He activated his communicator. This is Captain Morrison. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the talks have failed. Tell them about Haven's Rest. And tell them he paused. Tell them it's time to remind the galaxy why you should never make a human shed a tear. As their ship left Nexus Prime, Jake looked back at the station. The aliens thought they had one. They thought they had shown the humans their place in the galaxy. They were wrong. They had just signed their own death warrant, and they didn't even know it yet. 3 weeks passed in silence. Across the galaxy, the alien races celebrated what they thought was human weakness. The Korthok war fleets moved freely through space, attacking human colonies whenever they pleased. The Zelani began making plans to claim human territory. The Viridians started dividing up human trade routes among themselves. On the planet Korthok Prime, War Chief Thrakus stood before his warriors. The Great Hall was filled with soldiers who cheered every word he spoke. The humans have shown their true nature, Thrakus roared. They run away when faced with real strength. They cry like babies when we show them the reality of war. The warriors cheered louder. They banged their weapons on the floor, making a thunderous noise. We will take their colonies one by one, Thrakus continued. We will burn their cities and enslave their people. The galaxy will know that the Korthok are the true masters of space. Meanwhile, On the Zalani homeworld, Ambassador Voss met with the Council of Minds. They sat in a white room filled with glowing screens and complex machines. The humans have withdrawn from all diplomatic channels, one council member reported. Our intelligence networks show no unusual activity in human space. They are probably hiding in fear, another said. Such an emotional species cannot handle the reality of galactic politics. But Voss felt uneasy. She remembered the look in Captain Morrison's eyes. We should watch them carefully, she said. There may be more to humans than we understand. The other council members laughed. You worry too much, Voss. They are primitives who barely understand faster than light travel. What could they possibly do to us? On Earth, however, something unprecedented was happening. In the Great Assembly Hall of the United Nations, President Linda Hayes stood before representatives from every human world. The room was packed with politicians, military leaders, and corporate executives. My fellow humans, President Hayes began. We have received word of the massacre at Haven's Rest. Over 2,000 innocent people were murdered by the Korthok fleet. Among them were 400 children. A murmur of anger swept through the room. Some people began to cry. Others clenched their fists. The aliens think we are weak because we feel pain, President Hayes continued. They think our tears make us helpless. They are wrong. Our tears are not signs of weakness. They are fuel for our strength. She pressed a button, and images appeared on the screens around the room, pictures of the colony before the attack. Happy families, children playing, farmers working in the fields. Then came the pictures after the attack. Burned buildings, empty streets, graves in neat rows. We will not let this stand, President Hayes said. We will not let the aliens think they can murder our people without consequence. Today, we declare a state of total war readiness. Every human, on every world, will contribute to this effort. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, messages flooded in from across human space. Corporate leaders offered their entire production capabilities. Scientists shared research they had kept secret for decades. Military veterans volunteered to come out of retirement. On the industrial world of New Detroit, factory owner Bill Carter stood before his workers. He had built his fortune making civilian spacecraft, but now he had different plans. We're changing what we make, he announced. From now on, we build warships. Everyone who wants to help can stay. Everyone who doesn't can leave. Not a single worker left out at the Advanced Research Institute on Luna. Dr. Alex Turner received a visit from General Nancy Price. Alex had been working on theoretical weapons that could bend space itself. The military had called his work too dangerous and limited his funding. How dangerous? Nancy asked. These weapons could destroy entire planets, Alex said. I've been afraid to finish the research. Finish it, Nancy said. We need every advantage we can get. Alex nodded. I'll need more scientists and unlimited resources. You have both, Nancy replied. As of today, your project has the highest priority classification. Whatever you need, you get. Similar scenes played out across human space. On farming worlds, people left their crops to join the military. On mining worlds, workers dug up rare metals for ship construction. On research stations, scientists worked day and night to develop new technologies. The aliens' intelligence networks tried to monitor human communications, but they found themselves locked out. Every message was encrypted with codes that changed faster than their computers could break them. Ambassador Voss grew more worried as the days passed. She called a meeting with her top intelligence officers. What are the humans doing? She asked. We're not sure, one officer admitted. Their communications are completely secure now. Our agents can't penetrate their networks. That's impossible, Voss said. 3 weeks ago, we could read their messages easily. Something has changed, the officer said. They're acting like a completely different species on the neutral trading station of Kepler Station. The changes were becoming visible. Human traders who had once been friendly and eager to please now conducted business with cold efficiency. They no longer smiled or made small talk. They bought what they needed and left immediately. Station Commander Rilok, a member of the peaceful Altair species, noticed the difference right away. He had known human traders for years. They used to stay for drinks and tell stories about their home worlds. Now they barely spoke at all. Something is wrong, Rilok told his security chief. The humans are acting strange. Maybe they're just upset about the colony attack, the security chief suggested. No, Rilok said. This is different. They're not acting sad or angry. They're acting like soldiers. He was right. The human traders were actually military intelligence officers in disguise. They were mapping alien trade routes, studying alien technology, and identifying weak points in alien defenses. Captain Lisa Porter commanded one of these disguised ships. The Merchant Star looked like a simple cargo vessel, but its hull was packed with advanced sensors and weapons. Lisa's crew spent their days gathering information about alien military installations. How many more stations do we need to visit? Her first officer asked. All of them, Lisa said. We need to know everything about their defenses before we strike. When do you think that will be? Lisa smiled coldly. Soon. The preparations are almost complete. Back on Earth, the transformation was nearly finished. Weapons factories worked around the clock. Shipyards launched new vessels every day. Training centers processed thousands of recruits every week in the Deep Space Research Facility orbiting Pluto. Dr. Sarah Kim worked on what she called the digital weapon. She had found a way to hack into alien computer systems and take control of their technology. We can turn their own weapons against them, she explained to President Hayes during a secure video call. Their shields, their missiles, even their life support systems. We can control it all. How is that possible? President Hayes asked. Because they never expected us to be this advanced, Sarah said. They think we're primitives. They don't protect. They're systems against attacks they believe we can't make. President Hayes smiled. Excellent. How long until you're ready? 2 more weeks, Sarah said. Then we can strike whenever you give the order. The final piece of the puzzle was the fleet itself. Admiral Rick Stone commanded the largest military force in human history. Over 1,000 ships waited in hidden bases throughout human space. Each ship was equipped with the new weapons Dr. Turner had developed. Are the crews ready? President Hayes asked during her daily briefing. More than ready, Admiral Stone, said they're angry. They want revenge for Haven's Rest. When we give the order, they'll fight like nothing the galaxy has ever seen. And the diplomatic approach will offer them one chance to surrender, Admiral Stone said. If they refuse, we destroy them completely. President Hayes nodded. The aliens think they know us. They think we're weak because we cry. They're about to learn the truth. As the preparations neared completion, human ships began moving into position. They traveled in small groups, using routes that avoided alien patrols. To anyone watching, it looked like normal merchant traffic, but Ambassador Voss wasn't fooled. She had been tracking the movement of human ships for weeks. The patterns were too organized, too careful. They're planning something, she told the Council of Minds. We need to prepare our defenses. You're being paranoid, one council member said. The humans are traders and farmers. They don't have the military capacity to threaten us. Then, why are they moving so many ships? Voss asked. Trade, another council member said. They're probably trying to make money to rebuild their colony. But Voss knew better. She had seen the look in Captain Morrison's eyes. She had heard the promise in his voice. The humans were coming, and they were bringing something the galaxy had never seen before. On the last day of preparation, President Hayes made one final speech. It was broadcast to every human world, every human ship, every human station. My fellow humans, she said. Tomorrow, We show the galaxy who we really are. We show them that our tears are not weakness. We show them that when you hurt one human, you hurt all of us. We show them that there is no force in the universe more dangerous than a human who has nothing left to lose. The aliens slept peacefully that night, confident in their superiority. They had no idea that their doom was already moving through space toward them. The storm was coming, and nothing would ever be the same. The silence broke on a Tuesday morning, when the Korthok battle fleet Iron Fang simply vanished. 12 heavy cruisers and their escort ships had been patrolling the border between human and Korthok space. At 0800 hours, they were there. At 0801 hours, they were gone. War Chief Thrakus stood in his command center, staring at the empty space where his ships should have been. His communications officer, a young Korthok named Vrak, looked terrified. "Sir," Vrak said, "we've lost all contact with Iron Fang. Their last message was a routine patrol report." "Send another fleet to investigate," Thrakus ordered. "Find out what happened." The search fleet found debris. Lots of it. But the metal was twisted into shapes that made no sense. The damage patterns didn't match any known weapon. Whatever had destroyed Iron Fang had torn the ships apart at the molecular level. "This is impossible," the search fleet commander reported. "No weapon can do this kind of damage." "Find the humans," Thrakus growled. "They must be responsible." But the humans found them first. Every major news network in the galaxy suddenly showed the same image. A human in a military uniform standing in front of a starfield. The man was tall and serious, with gray hair and cold eyes. "I am Admiral Rick Stone of the Terran Defense Force," he said. "I have a message for the Korthok Empire, the Zalani Collective, and the Viridian Commonwealth." Across the galaxy, billions of aliens stopped what they were doing to watch. 6 months ago, you murdered innocent humans on Haven's Rest, Admiral Stone continued. "You killed children and laughed about it. You thought we were weak because we cried for our dead." The Admiral's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes made viewers feel cold. "The Korthok Empire has 72 hours to surrender unconditionally and submit to war crimes trials. After that, we will show you why humans don't just shed tears, we shed blood." The broadcast ended. For a moment, the galaxy was silent. Then the aliens began to laugh. "Ridiculous," Thrakus said. "They have barely 100 ships. We have thousands. Their technology is primitive," Ambassador Voss agreed. "They cannot match our weapons." "They're bluffing," Trademaster Korvac said, "trying to scare us into giving them better trade deals." They were about to learn how wrong they were. The attack began exactly 72 hours later. The first target was the Korthok Military Academy on Valor Prime, where young officers learned to dominate lesser species. The planet's orbital defense grid was the most advanced in Korthok space. With shields that could stop anything, Captain Lisa Porter approached the planet in the stealth destroyer, Silent Vengeance. Her ship was invisible to Korthok sensors, but she could see everything they were doing. "Weapons range in 30 seconds, her tactical officer reported. "Target the shield generators," Lisa ordered. "Use the new quantum torpedoes." The torpedoes were Dr. Turner's masterpiece. They didn't just explode. They bent space around the target, crushing it from all dimensions at once. The Korthok shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were useless against attacks that came from everywhere and nowhere. The shield generators simply ceased to exist. One moment they were there, the next they were gone, leaving only empty space. "Shields are down," the tactical officer reported. "The planet is defenseless." Lisa activated the communications system. "This is Captain Porter of the Terran Defense Force. You have 5 minutes to evacuate all civilians from the military academy. After that, we destroy it." The Korthok commander on the planet laughed. "You cannot threaten us with one ship." "Watch me," Lisa said. 5 minutes later, the military academy vanished. The entire complex, covering 20 square miles, was simply gone. The quantum torpedoes had unraveled the matter at the atomic level. But the civilians were safe. The humans had used pinpoint accuracy to destroy only military targets. It was a message. We can kill you all, but we choose not to. The message was received loud and clear. Within hours, human fleets appeared throughout Korthak space. They moved with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. Each ship knew exactly where to go and what to do. The Korthak tried to fight back, but their weapons couldn't hit targets they couldn't see. Human stealth technology was years ahead of anything the aliens had. The human ships struck without warning, destroyed their targets, and vanished before return fire could be directed at them. General Mike Davis commanded the human forces in the Vega sector. His target was the Korthak fortress world of Grimhold, home to their most elite military units. "Sir," his communications officer said, "the planet is requesting terms for surrender." Mike looked at the tactical display. Grimhold was heavily fortified, with weapon platforms that could destroy entire fleets. But those weapons were useless against enemies they couldn't see. "Tell them they had their chance to surrender," Mike said. "Now they face the consequences." The attack on Grimhold was swift and brutal. Human ships appeared out of nowhere, struck their targets, and disappeared. The planet's military installations were destroyed, one by one. The fortress that had taken decades to build was reduced to rubble in hours. But again, the humans were careful. They targeted only military objectives. Civilian areas were left untouched. The message was clear. "We are not monsters like you. We fight soldiers, not innocents." The Zelani collective thought their advanced technology would protect them. They were wrong. Dr. Sarah Kim had spent months studying their computer systems. When the attack came, she was ready. "Activate the digital virus," she ordered from her command center on Earth, across Zelani space. Their most advanced computers began to malfunction. Weapon systems turned on their own ships. Navigation computers sent fleets into empty space. Life support systems shut down on military vessels. The Zelani tried to fight back, but their own technology was being used against them. Their artificial intelligence systems, once their greatest advantage, became their worst enemy. Commander Pete Walsh led the human blockade of Viridian space. His orders were simple. No trade in or out until the Viridians surrendered. "But sir," his first officer said, "blocking all trade will hurt innocent people." "The Viridians think everything has a price," Pete said. "Let's see how much they're willing to pay for their support of the Korthak." The blockade was perfect. Human ships appeared at every major trade route, every hyperspace junction, every commercial hub. Viridian merchants who had grown rich from trade suddenly found themselves broke. Within days, the Viridian economy was in ruins. Their government begged for mercy, but the humans were unmoved. "You had your chance to stay neutral," Admiral Stone told them. "You chose to support our enemies. Now you pay the price." The alien powers tried to work together, but their old hatreds made cooperation impossible. The Korthak wanted to fight head-on. The Zelani wanted to use technology to find a solution. The Viridians wanted to negotiate. The humans exploited every weakness. They used the aliens' own prejudices against them. They spread false information that made the alien races distrust each other even more. On the ocean world of Aquatica, Major Kate Rivers led a marine assault that turned the planet's own environment into a weapon. The human soldiers moved through the underwater cities like they belonged there, while the alien defenders struggled with equipment designed for different conditions. "How are they doing this?" the Zelani commander asked as he watched his forces retreat. "They're using the water pressure against us," his tactical officer replied. "They're making the ocean itself fight on their side." Kate smiled as she watched the enemy retreat. "That's the thing about humans," she said to her sergeant. "We adapt, we survive, We win. The turning point came when the aliens realized that humanity wasn't fighting a normal war. This wasn't about territory or resources. This was about extinction. Every human ship carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. Every human soldier fought with the fury of someone who had nothing left to lose. Every human commander made decisions based on one simple rule: total victory or total death. The aliens had started this war thinking they were dealing with weak, emotional creatures. They ended it facing the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever seen. War Chief Thrakus stood in his ruined command center, watching his empire burn. His advisors begged him to surrender, but his pride wouldn't let him. "We are warriors," he said. "We do not surrender to lesser species." "Sir," his communications officer said, "the humans are offering terms. They'll spare civilian populations if we surrender now." "Never," Thrakus said. "We fight to the end." But even as he spoke, he knew the end was coming. The humans had shown mercy to civilians, but they showed no mercy to soldiers. His fleets were destroyed, his worlds conquered, his people broken. Ambassador Voss made one last attempt to negotiate. She sent a message to Admiral Stone, begging for a chance to talk. "There is nothing to discuss," Stone replied. "You had your chance for peace. You chose war instead. Now, you live with the consequences." The war was ending, but not the way the aliens had expected. They had thought they were teaching primitive humans a lesson about power. Instead, they had learned a lesson about what happens when you make a predator cry. The galaxy would never be the same. The humans had shown their true nature, and it was more terrifying than anyone had imagined. The tears were over. Now came the blood. The war spread across the galaxy like wildfire. What had started as a simple conflict between humans and 3 alien races became something much larger and more terrible. The humans had revealed themselves as the apex predators of known space, and they were hungry for revenge. On the Zilani homeworld of Nexus, the Council of Minds met in emergency session. Their beautiful white towers, once symbols of their technological superiority, now felt like tombs. "The humans have infiltrated our entire network," reported Chief Technician Zara. "They're using our own computers against us. Our ships are firing on each other. Our defense systems are targeting our own cities." Council Leader Vex stood at the center of the chamber, his blue skin pale with fear. "How is this possible? Our encryption was perfect. Our firewalls were impenetrable. The humans have been studying us for months," Zara said. "Every trade ship, every diplomatic visit, every cultural exchange, they were gathering intelligence. They know our systems better than we do." Dr. Sarah Kim sat in her command center on Earth, watching the chaos unfold. On dozens of screens, each monitor showed a different Zilani world falling to her digital assault. Their artificial intelligence systems, once their greatest strength, had become their downfall. "Target the military networks next," she ordered her team. "Leave civilian systems alone, but destroy anything connected to their war machine." Her lieutenant, a young programmer named Danny Walsh, looked worried. "Ma'am, this level of cyber warfare, it's like nothing anyone has ever seen. We're rewriting the rules of conflict." Sarah's expression was cold. "They wrote the rules when they killed our children. Now we're showing them what happens when you pick a fight with the human race." Across the galaxy, the Korthok Empire was crumbling. Their warrior culture, built on ideas of honor and strength, couldn't cope with an enemy that fought without rules. War Chief Thrakus stood in the ruins of his palace on Korthok Prime. Half the building had been destroyed by human orbital bombardment. The other half was on fire. "Sir," his aide, Vrax said, "the humans are requesting your surrender. They say they'll spare the civilian population if you give up now." Thrakus laughed bitterly. "Spare us. These soft humans think they can show mercy. To the Korthok, we are warriors. We do not accept charity from inferior species." "But sir," Vrax said, Our fleets are destroyed. Our colonies are conquered. We have nothing left to fight with. Then we die as warriors. Thrakus said, better to die in battle than live as slaves. But even as he spoke, Thrakus knew the truth. The humans weren't offering slavery. They were offering survival. The choice was simple: surrender or extinction. General Mike Davis received the news of Thrakus's refusal while orbiting the Korthok homeworld. His flagship, the Retribution, was part of a fleet that could turn the entire planet into molten rock. Sir, his communications officer said, Thrakus has refused to surrender. He says the Korthak will fight to the death. Mike looked at the planet below. Billions of Korthok lived down there. Soldiers, civilians, children. They would all die if he gave the order. Send one final message, Mike said. Tell them they have 1 hour to reconsider. After that, we follow our orders. The message was broadcast across Korthok Prime. The civilian population panicked. They had heard about what happened to military targets: complete destruction, no survivors. But they had also heard that humans spared civilians who stayed out of the fight. Crowds gathered in the streets, begging their leaders to surrender. But the military commanders refused to listen. They would rather die than admit defeat to inferior humans. The hour passed. General Davis gave the order. But the humans didn't destroy the planet. Instead, they used precision strikes to target only military installations. Army bases, weapons factories, command centers, all were reduced to ash in minutes. But the civilian areas were left untouched. It was a message more powerful than any weapon. We could kill you all, but we choose not to. We are not monsters like you. The Viridian Commonwealth tried a different approach. They were traders, not warriors. They understood the value of negotiation. Trade, Master. Korvac sent a message to Admiral Stone. We are willing to discuss terms. We never wanted this war. We were only trying to protect our trade routes. Admiral Stone's reply was swift and harsh. You had your chance to stay neutral. You chose to support our enemies. Now you pay the price. Commander Pete Walsh tightened the blockade around Viridian space. No ships in, no ships out. The economy that had taken centuries to build collapsed in weeks. Sir, his first officer said, the Viridians are offering to pay reparations. They'll give us exclusive trading rights, technology transfers, whatever we want. Pete shook his head. Too late for that. They had their chance to do the right thing. They chose to side with child killers instead. The blockade continued. Viridian. Worlds that had been rich and prosperous became poor and desperate. Their leaders begged for mercy, but the humans were unmoved. On the water world of Aquatica, Major Kate Rivers led her marines through underwater cities that sparkled like jewels. The planet was beautiful, but it was also a military stronghold that had to be taken. Remember, she told her troops, we're here to secure the weapons depot. Civilians are not targets. Anyone who surrenders gets fair treatment. The human soldiers moved through the water like they belonged there. Their equipment was designed for any environment, while the alien defenders struggled with gear made for specific conditions. The battle was over in hours. The alien forces surrendered rather than face complete annihilation. They had seen what happened to those who fought the humans to the end. But the war wasn't just about military victories. It was about changing the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The humans were teaching the aliens a lesson about what happened when you underestimated your enemies. Captain Andy Torres commanded the human fleet that surrounded the Zilani research station at Wolf 359. The station was where the aliens developed their most advanced weapons. It was also where they kept their most dangerous prisoners. Sir, his tactical officer said, we're detecting human life signs on the station. They're holding our people prisoner. Andy's jaw tightened. Prisoners from Haven's Rest. Looks like it, sir. About 200 humans in the detention center. All right, Andy said. This is now a rescue mission. I want those people safe, and I want everyone responsible for holding them to face justice." The assault on the research station was swift and brutal. Human special forces, led by Captain Rachel Bell, moved through the complex like ghosts. They freed the prisoners and captured the alien scientists who had been experimenting on them. They were trying to understand human psychology, one of the rescued prisoners told Rachel. They wanted to know why we fight so hard for each other. Rachel looked at the alien scientists cowering in the corner. "Did you figure it out?" The lead scientist, a Zilani named Dr. Kess, nodded fearfully. "You fight because you care. Your emotions make you stronger, not weaker." "Too bad you learned that lesson too late," Rachel said. The war was entering its final phase. The alien powers were broken, their fleets destroyed, their economies ruined. But the humans weren't finished yet. President Linda Hayes appeared on every major news network in the galaxy. She stood in the Oval Office, flanked by military advisors and civilian leaders. "To the people of the galaxy," she said, "we did not start this war. We tried to make peace. We offered friendship and cooperation. In return, you murdered our children and laughed at our grief." The camera zoomed in on her face. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were hard as steel. "You thought we were weak, because we cried. You thought our compassion was a flaw. You were wrong. Our tears were not weakness. They were fuel. Fuel for a fire that will burn across the galaxy until justice is served." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We are not conquerors. We are not tyrants. We are protectors. We protect our own, and we punish those who threaten them. The war will end when you surrender unconditionally and submit to trials for your war crimes. Until then, we will continue to show you what happens when you make a human shed a tear." The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, alien leaders realized that their old world was gone forever. The humans had changed everything, and there was no going back. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the final battles play out on tactical displays. The aliens were fighting desperately now, but it was too late. The outcome was inevitable. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're receiving surrender offers from 17 different star systems. They want to negotiate terms. Tell them." "The terms are non-negotiable," Stone said. "Unconditional surrender, war crimes trials, reparations for the families of the dead, and most importantly, a guarantee that this will never happen again." The officer nodded. "And if they refuse?" Stone looked at the tactical display, where human fleets were methodically destroying the last remnants of alien resistance. "Then we finish what they started," he said. "We show them that when you hurt a human, you hurt all of us, and we never forget, and we never forgive." The galaxy burned, but it was a cleansing fire. The old order was being destroyed, and from its ashes would rise something new, something where humans would never again be seen as weak or inferior. The aliens had made their choice when they killed innocent children and laughed about it. Now they would live with the consequences of that choice for generations to come. The war was almost over, but the lesson would last forever. The war ended not with a great battle, but with a whimper. After 18 months of systematic defeat, the alien powers finally realized that they faced a choice: surrender or extinction. The decision was made for them when the last Korthok battle fleet was destroyed, defending their home world, and War Chief Threkis was found dead in his palace, killed by his own people, who no longer wanted to die for his pride. The surrender ceremony took place on the neutral world of Kepler Station, the same place where human traders had once been welcomed with smiles and laughter. Now, it was surrounded by human warships, their weapons trained on the station, as a reminder of who held the power. Ambassador Lyra Voss, of the Zilani Collective, walked slowly through the docking bay. Her once proud blue skin had turned pale with fear and exhaustion. Behind her came the remnants of the Viridian leadership and the new Korthok government, that had taken power after Thrakus's death. The meeting room was simple and bare. No decorations, no ceremony, just a table and chairs. President Linda Hayes sat at one end, flanked by Admiral Stone and General Davis. The aliens sat at the other end, looking like defeated prisoners. "You wanted to meet," President Hayes said. "Speak." Voss cleared her throat. "We come to discuss terms of surrender. Our people are suffering. Our worlds are dying. We need to find a way to end this conflict." "The conflict ended the moment you decided to murder our children," President Hayes replied. "What we're doing now is justice." "But surely," the new Korthok leader said, "there must be some way to make peace." "We admit our mistakes. We are willing to make amends." President Hayes studied the aliens for a long moment. These were the same species that had laughed at human tears, that had called compassion weakness, that had bragged about burning children. "You made one critical error," she said finally. "You thought that because we feel deeply, we fight weakly. You thought our tears were signs of weakness, not understanding that each tear represents a life that mattered to us." She leaned forward. "You killed our children and laughed at our grief. You thought our emotions made us vulnerable. Instead, they made us unstoppable." The terms of surrender were harsh, but not genocidal. The humans had learned the lesson that their enemies had failed to understand. Strength without mercy was just brutality. The Korthok Empire was dissolved. Their military was disbanded, and their weapons destroyed. Their warrior culture would be replaced with education and peaceful development. Any Korthok who wanted to continue fighting would be exiled to remote worlds where they could harm no one. The Zilani Collective lost their advanced technology. Their artificial intelligence systems were destroyed to prevent future threats. Their scientists would work under human supervision, developing technology for peaceful purposes only. The Viridian Commonwealth faced economic controls that would last for generations. Their trade networks were broken up and placed under human oversight. They would rebuild their economies slowly, proving their commitment to peace through their actions. But the most significant change was humanity's new position in the galaxy. The species that had once been dismissed as primitive now commanded respect, born of fear and awe. Human ships patrolled the major trade routes. Human laws governed interstellar commerce. The old Galactic Council was replaced by the Terran Council, with humanity holding authority over all major decisions. Captain Jake Morrison, now Admiral Morrison, stood on the observation deck of the space station built above Haven's Rest. Below, the colony was being rebuilt. Green fields stretched to the horizon. Children played in gardens where other children had once died. Lieutenant Amy Collins, now Captain Collins, joined him at the viewport. She no longer cried easily. The war had changed all of them. Her tears had been replaced by steel. "Do you think we've become the monsters they said we were?" she asked. Morrison considered the question. "We became what we needed to become. The galaxy forced us to choose between being victims or victors. We chose to be victors, but at what cost?" Amy asked. "We've conquered half the galaxy. We've destroyed entire civilizations. We've become the thing we once feared. Have we?" Morrison asked. "Look down there. See those children playing? They're alive because we chose to be monsters to those who would hurt them. Sometimes being a monster is the only way to protect the innocent." Amy was quiet for a moment. "The aliens are already working on new weapons. Our intelligence reports say they're developing biological agents designed to target human emotions. They still think our feelings are a weakness to exploit." Morrison smiled coldly. "Let them try. They haven't learned the lesson yet. They still don't understand that when you make a human shed a tear, you haven't found their weakness. You've just signed your own death warrant." The reconstruction of Haven's Rest was nearly complete. The memorial garden held the names of all who had died in the original attack, but it also held a promise. Never again will human children die while human adults live to protect them. Dr. Sarah Kim, now head of Galactic Information Security, visited the memorial every year. She had been the architect of the digital warfare that had brought down the Zilani. Her weapons had been invisible, but deadly, turning the aliens' own technology against them. "Do you regret it?" her assistant asked as they stood before the memorial wall. "Regret saving these children?" Sarah asked. "Never. The aliens had a choice. They could have left us alone. They chose war instead. They chose to target civilians. They chose to laugh at our grief. Every consequence that followed was their choice, not ours." The galaxy had indeed changed. Trade flowed along routes patrolled by human ships. Research was conducted under human oversight. Conflicts were resolved in human courts. The old system of strong preying on weak had been replaced by a new order where strength was tempered by justice. But the change went deeper than politics or economics. The aliens had learned that humans were not like them. Where they saw individuals, humans saw family. Where they saw weakness, humans saw strength. Where they saw enemies, humans saw future friends, if treated with respect. The lesson was carved into monuments on 1,000 worlds. Never underestimate a species that cries for its dead. Their tears are not weakness. They are the foundation of their strength. General Mike Davis, now retired, wrote his memoirs in a small house overlooking the rebuilt colony. His book, The Tears of War, became required reading at military academies across human space. "The aliens made one fatal mistake," he wrote. "They thought that because we mourned our losses, we were soft. They didn't understand that our grief was fuel for our determination. Every tear shed for our dead became a weapon in our arsenal." The book's final chapter was titled, The Price of Peace. In it, Davis wrote about the cost of victory, not just in lives and resources, but in the fundamental change in humanity's relationship with the galaxy. "We are no longer the naive species that hoped for friendship among the stars," he wrote. "We are the guardians of peace, the protectors of the innocent, the enforcers of justice. It is a heavy burden, but one we bear willingly. Better to be feared for our strength than mourned for our weakness." President Hayes, now in her second term, addressed the Terran Council on the first anniversary of the war's end. Representatives from every human world attended, along with carefully selected aliens who had proven their commitment to peace. "We did not choose this responsibility," she said. "We did not want to become the galaxy's police force. We wanted to be explorers, traders, friends to all species. But when our children were murdered and our grief was mocked, we had no choice but to become something else." She paused, looking out at the assembled representatives. "We are not conquerors. We are not tyrants. We are protectors. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We punish those who prey on the innocent. We maintain the peace that others would shatter for their own gain." The applause was thunderous. The humans had found their place in the galaxy, and they would never again be seen as weak or primitive. Admiral Stone, now head of Galactic Defense, maintained a fleet that patrolled the space lanes. His ships were a reminder of what happened to those who threatened the peace, but they were also a promise of protection to those who lived by the new rules. "The galaxy is safer now," he told new officers during their graduation ceremony. "Children, sleep peacefully on 1,000 worlds because we stand watch. That is our mission. That is our honor. That is our burden." The war was over, but its lessons would last forever. The aliens had learned that humans were not the weak, emotional creatures they had believed. They were apex predators who had chosen to be civilized until someone gave them a reason not to be. The galaxy had a new order now, one where strength was balanced by mercy, where justice was swift but fair, where the strong protected the weak instead of preying on them, and at the heart of it all was a simple truth that the aliens had learned too late: never make a human shed a tear, because when you do, you don't just anger one person, you anger an entire species, and an angry human is the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. The children of Haven's Rest played in their gardens, safe under the protection of their guardians. They would grow up in a galaxy where their tears mattered, where their lives had value, where their dreams were protected by those who had chosen to be monsters so that innocence could remain pure. The war was over, the lesson was learned, and the galaxy would never be the same, in the end. The aliens had been right about one thing: humans were indeed an emotional species, but they had been wrong about what that meant. Human emotions weren't weakness, they were the source of humanity's greatest strength, and when those emotions were channeled into purpose, they became an unstoppable force for justice. The tears had dried, the blood had been spilled, the victory was won, and the galaxy was at peace, a peace enforced by those who understood that sometimes you had to be a monster to protect the innocent. The human tears had indeed been the warning. The galaxy had just been too arrogant to listen.